Greetings, friends and future friends. This video I call Studio Shop Videos. Now, if you're like me and you don't have a lot of money to pay somebody to come in and fix and repair things in your studio, you got to do it yourself. So I'm going to show you how you can fix and repair and adjust things in your studio. That way you can get back to work creating, whether it be videos or music or whatever you're a creator of. So let's go see if we can find something to fix.
Now, in this tutorial today, I want to show you how to use fasteners. And I created 3 little projects we can use here for a demonstration in this tutorial. Now, this one here, we're going to take this block of wood and we're going to attach it to these 2 blocks of wood here. And what we're going to do is use a 1/4 inch bolt. And then here, we're going to take a piece of particle board and we're going to nail it to these 2 support beams right here, these 2 pieces here. Then on the very end, we have a piece of aluminum that we're going to pop rivet to this other piece of aluminum, and I'll show you how that works. Now, the first part is this right here. Now, what we want to do is we want to attach this board to these 2 boards, but what we want to do is make it removable. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these little things right here called studs, and you can see inside they have threads, and the 1/4 bolt screws right inside there. You can see how it just screws right inside there. So what we got to do is we got to drill a hole out and we got to put this stud right into the wood. And then once it's in the wood, then we drill a hole through the other board and then we can screw it down. And because this stud is now in that wood, it's going to be in this piece of wood right here, you're going to be able to unscrew that bolt and remove this top piece. And that's one good thing about having a threaded stud in your project. So in other words, if you're building something that's a chair or a table or something you want to take apart, but you need it to be strong, you can use one of these studs, bring it in here, nail or screw it into here, drill a hole, screw it into here, and then bolt this up. You have a solid attachment, and then if you ever need to take it apart, you loosen the nut, and away you go. Now in this project here, what we have is we're going to take a piece of particle board, and this is just a piece of particle board, and we're going to nail it to these boards like this. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to use a air nail gun. And what we do is we're going to take and put these like this, bring them like this, and we're going to nail it in there. Now, what you want to do when using an air nail gun, the first thing you need to do is select your nail. Now this nail here is 1 1/4 inch, which means it's 1 1/4 inch from here to there. And that's the distance. This little one is 3/4. From there to here is 3/4 inch. And then this one right here is a 1 inch from here to here. That's 1 inch. So what we want to do is take your board and come to the side here and look at, okay, what's this going to look like when we put this together? So what nail are we going to use? We probably could use the 1 inch. The 1 inch looks like, you can see now the bottom of that nail, you can see where the bottom is and where the top is. So now when we put the top level with this board on top, you can see that it's going to have plenty of penetration into that bottom piece, because right here is where it's going to stop on the top, and then it's going to go from there down into the wood. So that's the first thing you want to do, is make sure we select the right nail, because if we have too short a nail, then it's going to be up here like this and not have enough grip to hold it together. And if it's too long, it could go way down in there and maybe split the wood. So you want to have it just about right. And depending on what you're going to use, if this is a project that isn't going to have a lot of weight put on it, you don't really need to have a heavy nail in there. So I think the 1 inch nail is probably going to be the way we go with to put this project together. So now with this project, what we're going to do here is we're going to take this piece of aluminum and we're going to put it together with this piece of aluminum. So what I'm going to have to do is drill 3 holes in this, and then we'll put a pop rivet in here and pop the rivets. Now, what is a pop rivet? A pop rivet is this right here. What it is a device like this, little looks like almost like a nail, but it's actually a rivet. You can see how the rivet works. And then what you do is you drill the hole, and then you stick it down in a hole, and then on the other side you put a washer. Now what happens is when this sits, you put your gun on here, it pulls up on this nail, and then it breaks off. That's why they call it a pop rivet. And what it's going to do is it's going to take this end right here and collapse it. And then what that will do is it'll collapse. So this end right here will be collapsed. It'll crush in and make a rivet. So it'll look just like a rivet on both sides, and then it'll hold the metal together. That's why they call it a pop rivet. Now sometimes, depending on the project, you can just use this, stick this into the hole, and use your pop rivet gun. But in most instances, I like to use the pop rivet and then put a washer on the back of it, and then it pulls it together real nice, and now you're going to have a pop rivet that works. For starters, we're going to attach this board to this board right here. And what that means is I got to drill a hole through these two boards. Now what we know is this is going to be a 1/4-20 hole for the 1/4-20 bolt. So we're going to make this 1/4-20 hole through both pieces. It'll do two things. One, it'll set a pilot hole through this piece right here, but it'll also align this hole with this hole in this board right here. That way when we install the stud into this board, it's going to be in perfect alignment of where we have it here. Now to make sure we do that right, what I've done is put a C-clamp on it, and I've clamped these two pieces of wood together. That way they won't move, so when I drill a hole down through here, it'll be perfectly in line with the hole in this bottom piece. Okay, let's get to drilling here. We got our piece all lined up, and make sure we're in right on our mark. I think we're right there on our mark, right there. And now what we want to do is drill down through that. Let's make sure our drill bit is nice and tight. Yep, it's nice and tight. And then what we're going to do also, because this is 3/4 inch, 1.5 inches, so I'm thinking we need to go 1.5 inches. We need to go right to here. Get that 1.5 inches going through. Okay. So let's start drilling. And I think we've got it. Perfect. I think we've got it. There's our 1/4 inch hole in this top piece. There's our 1/4 inch hole in the top piece. And if we take this clamp off, you can see, so here's the hole we drilled through the top piece of wood, and you can see the 1/4 inch hole through that. And then we also have this hole right here, which is in the bottom piece. And now that we know that that's the right hole, we can go over here and change out the bit. So now this drill bit right here has to be the same diameter as the outside diameter of this stud, so we can push it in to the wood. We can screw it into the wood. So we'll take and fire up the drill press again, tighten it down. And all we need to do is go down to right about here with the drill bit into the wood, just giving enough distance for this to happen right here. So we'll bring our block of wood over here, start it up. Okay, looks good. And now we've got a perfect hole right in here. So now we have the 3 boards with the holes drilled in them. I didn't show you me drilling the second hole in the second board because it just take up time. Anyhow, we got the 2 holes in this board and 1 hole in each one of these boards. And what we're going to do is we're going to bolt this to those 2 boards right there. So first we want to make sure that our bolts will go through here. So we're going to take our 1/4 20 bolts and we're going to fit down through these holes, and they fit good. And then we're going to line them up, see how they line up. They seem to line up pretty good. Everything looks pretty good. So next part of this is to take and use the Allen wrench. They give you an Allen wrench that comes with the kit when you buy these things, and it fits right in there. So we'll just take this, and matter of fact, we'll get these little burrs off of here so we don't get any problems. Matter of fact, I want to take my little knife here, just cut these burrs off a little bit so we don't stick in there. I know now, granted, this is just a tutorial, and if we were doing this, I'd probably maybe do a little countersinking in here to make them fit a little better. And I just want to do this real quick, but we need to cut this a little bit so that that fits down in there nicely. We don't have a real big burr on that. We can probably torque it in there good, but I want to make sure that's in there. So once that's done, we take the stud, we get it started, and we just take our Allen wrench and screw it right into place and get it started. And once we get it started down in there, we can just start cranking it up. And we get it nice and tight. And you can see now in this instance we want this to be flat. So what we're going to do is make sure this goes down, make sure it's flat. Let's do a little high. There we go. Now I think we're good right in there. And then we're going to do the same thing with this one here. We're going to screw the stud into the wood. You know, it's still got a little bit of a burr on it, so let's take that out of there. Take it right in the... Again, if this was a project like a piece of furniture or something, I would probably take my countersink and put it on a drill press and then put a little countersink in this. But I'm just doing this real quick so you guys can see how this works, because it's a really neat process. So then we just keep screwing this right in. Sometimes it gets a little tight. Depending on how dry the wood is, it might get a little tight. Screw that in there. And get a grip on it. And keep going. All right. Let's see what we have here. We got a little burr there. And I can feel that's nice and soft. Now that we have the studs in here, now all we got to do is bring our 1/4 20 bolts over here. Get them started. And we get them started in there. Get this 1/4 inch bolt started in that hole right there. Can make sure it lines up. And get it started. This one's a little tough. But there it goes. Now, we can actually take and get a 7/16 wrench. Make sure this is nice and square and tighten that down. Tighten that down, tighten this down a little bit. And square these up a little bit. So now that we got this thing together, you can see that I torqued this down pretty good. I got that on there pretty good. And that is not moving. I'm really pulling on that. That is solid. And what's really cool about this fastener is that if this is a piece of furniture or a stand in your studio or something like that, and you got it and it's nice and solid, ready to go, but then you want to move it, you want to take it apart. All you got to do is loosen these bolts up. Take the bolts out. Take this other bolt out. And now you got the 3 pieces removed. So this is a really cool fastener to use in your studio. If you're building a stand that you want to put together and want it to be solid, because now you're talking a 1/4 20 bolt. And you can see that's a 1/4 20 bolt. That's going to hold a lot of weight or whatever stress you're going to put on it. And you can see how this works too now, because see that 1/4 20 bolt thread is right into that wood. So this would be a real solid way to mount something in your studio that you want to take apart later in the future. Now when you buy a kit like this, you'll buy a package. It'll have all the studs in there. This was for 1/4 20. And it also will come with a drill bit and an Allen wrench. But make sure when you look into your kit, if you buy a kit like this, that it has the drill bit and the Allen wrench. Some kits on the bigger bolts only come with the studs and an Allen wrench, and then you have to figure out what size drill you got to use. But when you buy a package like this, it usually comes with the studs, the drill bit, and the Allen wrench. And now, as you've seen, it's very easy to create a 1/4 20 bolt into a piece of wood. So let's get to work in nailing that particle board down to those two boards. First, we're going to use our nail gun, and let's talk about the nail gun. Now, when looking at nail guns, there's two types of nail guns. There's a nail gun that's battery operated, and there's a nail gun that's run by air. In my studio, I got a compressor, and I have a lot of air tools, so I use the air model. And this means it's running by air. You can get them by battery, and some people say they work just as good. I always like the air version because it just seems quicker. And basically, when you look at a gun, there's three major types. You're talking about little small brads and staplers. Then you talk about the 18 gauge, which that's what this is, an 18 gauge. And I use it for all, like I just built a train platform here a little while ago, and I used this. It works fantastic. And then you have 16 gauge, and then you move up into the big stud guns and all that stuff. But for handy work around the studio, this little 18 gauge nail gun is so great. It's perfect. It comes in handy a lot. And I want to talk to you about that. So the first thing you want to look at is what gauge you're going to use. That's the thing you want to do, is look at what gauge. And this is an 18 gauge nail gun. Then what you want to do is when it opens up, you're going to be putting your nails in here. And you want to look at the capacity of the nail. Now this thing will take, I think, 3/4 to 2-inch nails. And what that means is the distance of the nail itself. The distance of the nail. So from here to there is 3/4 of an inch in this piece. And you can take up to a 2-inch nail. Now, why I got this up here, this is an 18 gauge. So an 18 gauge nail is pretty good. 16 gauge is a little bigger. But for this gun, we have 18 gauge. And while we're here, we'll load it. So all we do is sort of stick our nails in there. We shut the door. The spring loads the nail gun. And now the nail gun is loaded with nails. Now, there's a couple of things I want you to look at because there's a safety factors that are very important in using a nail gun. Now, the most important part of a nail gun is right here. This little piece right here. And you can see how that slides down. What that is a safety. So if I have this nail gun ready to go and I pull the trigger, nothing will happen until this is pushed down. Then when this comes like this, you pull the trigger, now it'll fire the nail. That's a really good safety factor. That way, if you accidentally bump this, nothing's going to happen until this thing is pushed down. Now up here is a selector switch. And what this selector switch does is it allows you to use what we call a rapid fire motion. So in other words, in this position here, when you come to a piece of wood, you'd have to take a piece of wood, like this little piece we just worked on. If you wanted to put a nail into it, you'd push down and then pull the trigger, and then a nail would come through there. If you came into a situation where you're doing a lot of plywood, you're tapping down some plywood or whatever, and you have a lot of nails to put in, you can switch this over to rapid fire. Now what happens is when you pull this trigger, nothing will happen. But when you push this down over here, this little piece right here, when you push this piece down like that, it's going to fire. And when we get into the nailing part of it, I'll show you how that works. But this is a really handy thing to have if you're doing a lot of nailing. So let's get to work nailing down this particle board. So the first thing we want to do is make sure it's all straight and ready to go. And then you have to draw like an imaginary line. Some people actually put a line in there because you want to see the thickness of your board, because you don't want to put a nail here, it's not going to do any good. You got to put the nail into this piece here so it goes down into the wood. So we have it in right here. You can see You can see I have it in single mode. So we push down, and we're pushing down on that little safety, and we pull the trigger. We come over here, push down, and we just put 2 nails into that piece of wood. And that's great. If you're in a situation like that, you can go down and you're piecing something together. That's what you want to do. But now if we take and put this switch over to here, and you can see now it has a whole bunch of nails. Now you can see I pull the trigger, nothing happens. But if I hold the trigger, and now when I push down, it's going to fire a nail. So if I wanted to do a lot of nailing, I could go, and now it's going to fire every time I push down on that. Now it won't, if I push down here like this, it's not going to do anything. But if I pull the trigger, now it's going to fire. And it's really handy if you got a lot of nailing to do. If you got a long piece of plywood, you know, you can do. Let's do this other side. Nail this down this other side. And we'll keep it on rapid fire. And then again, if we've gone back to single mode, we come over here, we push down, nothing happens. And this is the way, especially when you're lining stuff up, you definitely want to have it in this mode right here. Because you're lining things up and you don't want to make sure anything gets, and then you push down on it, you got it all lined up, and then you go, pull the trigger. And that's how you use a nail gun. So now what we're going to do is drill 3 holes in this piece of metal here. And I've got to make sure that these holes are aligned with the hole in the back piece, because we're going to pop rivet this piece to here. Now what I like to do is we'll drill 2 holes, and we'll put pop rivets in there, and then once we have that secure, then we can take this clamp off and drill the 3rd hole. But we got to make sure these holes are aligned. Now I brought my square in here. Let's just make sure we're all sitting good, and looks like we're perfect, nice and straight. So now let's bring this up to the drill press, and now we're going to drill the hole in this piece. Take these off here so we can see the drill bit, and you can now see we drilled a hole in this piece right here. Now what I like to do is stick a pop rivet in there to keep it aligned. So now we know that that hole is not going to come out unaligned with the other one. And let's go over here and we'll drill another hole. And now you can see we have the 2nd hole drilled in there. So we now have 2 pop rivets in here. You can see it in the holes. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a washer on the back of this first one. Take and put the washer on the back of that. You can see the washers on there. So now we have these 2 pop rivets in here ready to go. And on this first one here, I've already got a washer placed on it. You can see the washer on the back of it. And now we're going to use our pop rivet gun, which this is a hand gun. You can buy compressed air, one's electric. And then all we got to do is take and slide that right over the nail so you can see where we're at here. Maybe I can get a better camera angle. You can see the pop rivet sticking out. We take the pop rivet gun, put it over that, make sure our washer's okay, and we start pulling on that gun. And now we just press the gun. And when it pops, you can see, and when it pops, you can see the stem breaks off, but the pop rivet stays intact. The washer's in the back here, looks really good. And now that's on there solid. Now we can go to the next one. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to take our pop rivet gun, slide over it, and squeeze the handle. Wait a minute, we almost made a mistake. First, we got to put a washer on there. Where's our washer? So we now got our washer. We'll get our washer and we'll put it on this pop rivet right here. And now you can see we have a washer on the back of that rivet right there. Then we'll spin this around like this, get our pop rivet gun in place, slide it over the stem, and pull on the handle, making sure the washer's in place, and pull. And it snaps the stem off. And now you can see that we have the back sides. You can see the washers are pulled nice and tight. And you can see the front, the pop rivets have snapped off. Looks really good. Now we can remove our clamp. And we can come over here to the drill press and drill that final hole. Then we grab our pop rivet, put it in the hole, get our washer, take our washer, put it on the back here like this, then get our pop rivet gun, put it on there like that, and now all we got to do is squeeze the handle and compress and break the stem. And there you go. Stem's gone. And now you can see what we have just done is taken and drilled the holes, made sure they were all lined in. Now granted, if I was doing this in a project that I really needed to be done, you know, not just a tutorial, I would make sure I lined up all these holes so they're perfectly straight and made sure everything lined up a little better. But this was just for a tutorial to show you how easy it is to use a pop rivet gun. You know, you drill an 1/8 inch hole, you put the 1/8 inch pop rivet in there, and then you put a washer on the back depending on where it is, and you can see that somehow that washer slipped off when we were pulling it on. How about that? It must have popped off as we were pulling it on. So in that instance, when you have a problem like that, and maybe this is a good thing. So we messed up on this last one. We have the washer didn't hold. So what are we going to do? We're going to scrap the project? No. What we can do, and I'm glad this happened because I'll show you how you can take care of this. So now we know that we have a problem. You can see on the back right here that washer came off. And we can't have it like that. We got to have a washer on there to really hold that. But what are we going to do? Well, we know one thing right now is that this is a 1/8 inch hole, because that's the drill bit we drilled the hole through to put the pop rivet in. So when you have an instance like this where we got to take this pop rivet out. So what we can do is actually use the same drill bit that we used to drill the original hole. So now our project is not to put the third pop rivet in, but to take the third pop rivet out. And all we do is come over to the drill with a 1/8 inch bit and go right over top. So what we want to do is we want to drill a hole right on the top of that pop rivet. So we come over here, drill a hole, drill right down through it. And now you see we may have to make a mistake. We had to remove that pop rivet. So it was very easily done by just taking that pop rivet. Like if this was bad, you just take the drill bit right in the center there, right on there, and drill it out. So we just drilled it out. We got a clean hole. We'll put another pop rivet in there and see if this works. All right, so I got to go back to my toolbox, get another pop rivet. So now I've got a new pop rivet and a new washer. We're going to come over here to our piece, stick the pop rivet in there, put the washer on the back. Make sure we got the washer on the back really good. Make sure it's on there. Come over here with our pop rivet gun again. Sure the stem from the other pop rivets out. Slide it on there like that. So we got it slid on there. And now we're just going to squeeze and put some pressure on that. And there you go. Now we got it going on. You can see the pop rivet right there is looking really good. And if we flip it over on the other side, we can see all three of them have washers. And again, if I was doing this on a project, I probably would have measured out and punched a hole where these holes need to be drilled. But this was just a tutorial. I wanted to show you how easy it is to put pop rivets in. You just drill a hole, 1/8 inch. Now, you have different size pop rivets. These are 1/8 inch, which are common. But you have 3/16 and different size pop rivets. But you drill the hole the size of the pop rivet, put it in there, slide the gun over the stem, pop it, and now you got a piece. Now we've got a piece, and basically this could be a square for doing woodwork, because now we know this is perfectly square and this isn't going to move with 3 pop rivets in it. So this is a great little piece to have for doing some carpentry work now.
So I hope this video showed you that you can fix and repair these things yourself. That way you don't have to have someone else come in and do it. Also, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. You'll help us grow the channel. That way we can fix more stuff. So take care, my friends, and thanks for watching.